Let's kick off. It's 10 o'clock Pacific time, 1 o'clock on the East Coast. Thank you everyone in attendance here on Zoom and who's checking in with us on Facebook. We appreciate you. We're very excited about what we've got to discuss today because what this integration really shows is a big step forward in Chime's commitment and Brokermint's commitment to our mutual clients in an attempt to make sure that we're putting together the most streamlined yet best in service products for you to run your business on. There is oftentimes when clients try to run their business through an all-in-one style solution, that solution is generally lacking in some form or fashion. But when you take the best of breeds of what they do and what they live and breathe, such as what Brokermint does and what Chime does, you get an overall more effective solution. And when these two companies come together and create an integration to the depth that we have, you're going to overall run a more efficient business. And as we know, when you run a more efficient business, you close more deals. And that's what we're here to empower you today. So with that being said, what we're going to go through today is a ever so brief Chime demo, a brief Brokermint demo, so you understand conceptually if you have not seen the products before, and then Eric is going to wrap us up with the actual integration piece so that you understand more fully what hard work we've put in to this integration. So with that being said, Kirk, Daniel, is there anything that y'all would like to lead off with before we open up the screen share and get underway?
Yeah, I'd like to just say a few words from the Brokermint side, if I may, Randy. Thanks for that setup. First of all, welcome all of our clients and your clients and those who are both, and also those that are neither and maybe investigating us both for the first time. We at Brokermint, we spend a lot of time thinking about industry trends, especially in the technology sector. As Randy was kind of talking about, those all-in-one solutions are becoming more and more, not quite, beginning all the way to the end, but there's a lot of consolidation going on, and we're a part of that. Chime is a part of that. On the Chime side, they've got the lead gen, the websites, the CRM capabilities, and more all rolled into a tight package. And then on the back office, on Brokermint side, we've got the transaction management, the commission automation, accounting, agent management, reporting. And so as the market goes through that consolidation and has really been speeding up over the last couple of years, even before COVID, a lot of people going to a Brokermint or going to a Chime. So the next logical step of that consolidation is to get that front end system and that back end system talking to each other in a meaningful way. And that's what we're going to be sharing with you today. And as you go through this and watch the integration and see the points of integration, I think you'll be impressed by the fact that it's a two-directional sync, so it's not just all flowing in one direction. There's a lot of data that can be synced. And third, the user experience is terrific. So I think it's easy to use and fairly intuitive. So with that, I'll kick it back over to Randy and company and the Chime team to talk about Chime.
Yeah, so thank you for that. I couldn't agree more. Not to beat a dead horse, but these all-in-one solutions generally cut corners. And when you live and breathe what Brokermint does, when you live and breathe what Chime does, you don't cut corners. So we're going to have Jason WISENHUNT here on the call today go through a brief demo of what Chime does, so everyone can get their eyes there. Then we'll have Daniel take over and wrap up with the Brokermint demo, and then Eric will wrap up with the integration piece. So Jason, why don't you open up a screen share and show us what we got?
Awesome, thank you. And yes, welcome again, everybody. What we're looking at here is your Chime back office, where you will have widgets giving you vision into your entire business. What's going on with your new leads, your opportunities, your tasks for the day, and of course your listings coming in from your MLS. Chime is a true all-in-one solution, especially with the partnership through Brokermint, taking you from your IDX websites all the way from lead capture there to lead capture during your open houses, even lead capture with any sort of landing page. Everything can be created right within Chime. Once those leads come into Chime, they will automatically receive drip campaigns. Those can be email drip campaigns, text drip campaigns, combination of any of the above, as well as manual tasks like making a phone call or walking by a property, knocking on the door and saying hello. Chime wants to make sure that none of your leads slip through the cracks. And then once you get those leads in your system, Chime will automatically scrub your buyers against any of the listings that come through the MLS. There are reverse buyer prospecting where I can quickly see, this new listing matches up with which one of my leads in the system. And eventually we want to take that lead from just living in your CRM to actually going through a transaction. And when that transaction comes into play, that's really where the beauty of this partnership that we have with Brokermint starts to fruition. And with that, I'll leave it to Daniel to talk a little bit about Brokermint and where they take over from there.
Real quick, I want to make mention that this webinar, we had a question come up about the length, should be less than an hour. This will be recorded and it will be added to our YouTube page. So if you're not already following us or subscribing to the Chime CRM YouTube page, I would ask that you do that. There is a wealth of content on there. It can be a really great resource for a variety of reasons. So this will be recorded and stored on our YouTube page.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, before I jump into the live system here, just wanted to talk a little bit about Brokermint, kind of who we are, what we do. I'll keep it real brief here. So we have been around for 6 years, since 2014, about 350,000 transactions sides closed last year through the system. So about 5% of US transaction volume going through the system, which is pretty fantastic. Over 1,100 brokerages today using the system. You'll see a variety of logos here to the right, everything from leading affiliates to independent brokerages to teams, so really across the board here. Over 45,000 agents accessing the system on a daily basis. And we integrate with over 260 MLS partners, I believe, today, and have a presence across all 50 states in Canada. And, just to kind of highlight our growth, it's not just, us talking about it, like it's been recognized across the industry. So probably seen us within Inman, had several articles in the last couple of months, everything highlighting from our functionality that we've added for accounting and some other things to strategic partnerships like Chime. So regularly appearing in Inman. We were on the Inc. 5000 this year as part of the fastest growing companies in the US. So another nod to our great success here and continued growth. And then we were published in the T360 Real Estate Almanac. So just another place that highlights our place in the industry and our growing presence. And from a real high level here, here's kind of where Brokermint fits from that 10,000 foot perspective here. As you can see, we are 100% cloud-based, and we do incorporate multiple roles and multiple functions within a single system here. So over time, as we've kind of seen with front office and some other things, there's a proliferation of point tools. So transaction management, commission automation, and the like, and leading to some siloed data and just some situations that are less than optimal. So we've been steered by the market here to capture multiple operational roles and multiple functions within the same system. And it's not a case where we're going to be a be everything, do everything. We're focused, very, very laser focused on the transaction from from contract to close. So that's why we lean on partners like Chime, who are the best at what they do, integrate with them to be able to seamlessly import, those opportunities and contacts, and then have that bi-directional sync once something's closed to be able to write that back so that you can continue to work through your post-sale workflows that might be set up within Chime and be able to seamlessly do those things as well. On top here just kind of shows the roles that are involved within Brokermint, everything from agents to transaction coordinators, compliance, controller, accounting, bookkeeping, all and the like. And at the bottom here, these are really the key components that make up Brokermint. So the first piece being that transaction management. So really that full ability to have checklists, and we have e-sign and full audit trail within the solution as well. So very feature rich and market leading. Second piece there, commission automation. So we've taken feedback from, we started as a transaction management company, and the next thing we added was that commission automation missing piece there. So really taking the most complex splits, fees, caps, deductions, all those things, whatever your commission structure are compromised of, and automating everything that's known. So all that's templatized, and you can assign those to agents, and they can have multiple plans if they get paid at different rates depending on the type of transaction and all that kind of fun stuff, but won't drill too much into that at the moment. Third key piece there is accounting. So in 2020, we've added accounting to Brokermint. So all of the things that you would generally expect from accounting, from ledgers to P&L to balance sheet, all of those residing within the system today. Reports and analytics. So being able to really drill down across any kind of metrics that you might be looking for. Because we have full transaction data and commission data, we have the full data set there for you to drill down into. And we have 25 out of the box reports that come with the system day one. And then we also have some custom report wizard within the product as well. So you can easily create any kind of report that you're looking for to be able to slice and dice things across the brokerage, across agents, across teams. And then the last piece there, agent management. So being able to track all of the pertinent details of your roster, license number, license expiration, start date, all those kind of things. And then as part of that, we've added an agent onboarding component. So really taking those best practices from transaction management and applying those to agent onboarding. So putting together the sequential steps, the documents that need to be completed, all of those things, and then not bringing on that person until they've completed all those things and they're fully onboarded. So really putting some guardrails on the process and helping you to better manage that process. And then on the right here, some additional integration points and third-party things that we work with here. So we do have accounting within the system, but we do also push to third-party accounting packages. So if you're using Dynamics, QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Desktop, and those are all things that you want to continue to use, we can push those packages. We do have options for EFT and ACH to pay agents. And then agent billing was an addition this year as well. So in addition to just being able to charge agents cards, being able to dynamically sync that information to agent ledgers and be able to keep track of all those things as you go. So that's kind of from the high level here. And I'll just touch on just a couple of things here while we have a few moments as far
Daniel,
as, yes.
If I could, I'd like to use that image you have. If you could pull that up for just another quick second here as a point of emphasis. With Chime, or in a brokerage, you have really two sides of the house, right? Front office, back office. Chime is filling your needs from a lead gen, IDX website, CRM style solution that all addresses the needs of the front office. This back office piece is going to be exactly what Brokermint is doing here with the transaction management, commission automation, accounting. I mean, these two programs are combining what would otherwise probably require no less than 6 to 8 different solutions that you'd be trying to piecemealing together, yet also deserve their own attention, right? If Chime was to move into this space, we would do it at a poor level. If Brokermint was trying to move into what Chime does, they would do it poorly as well. So the front office and back office require their own special attention, but you don't necessarily need to be going to half a dozen different products in order to find them. So by having Chime and Brokermint work together, it almost serves as one complete solution where you don't necessarily have to be constantly managing a dozen different products. So this really can't be emphasized enough, because it is that gentle blend of products hyper-focused, but not necessarily too limited in functionality. So I wanted to really exaggerate that point because of just how important it can be. And then there was a question for you, Daniel, from John. Are you familiar with BrokerSumo, and is Brokermint a complete replacement?
I am familiar, and BrokerSumo does a portion of what Brokermint does. So we would definitely be a replacement for that commission automation piece. Where we provide additional functionality is around all the rest. So transaction management, accounting, reports and analytics, because we have the full data set there across both transactions and commission data. So able to give more robust reporting, and then across that agent management piece as well.
Awesome. And does it handle document management and signing?
It does, yes. So we do have unlimited document management within the system. So you can assign documents to particular pieces of the checklists that way as well. And we also have e-sign within the solution as well. So if you have proprietary documents and other proprietary forms and other things that you want to map and be able to use and send out for e-sign directly within the solution, we can absolutely do that as well.
Perfect. All right, very good. Well, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but let's keep trucking.
Yeah, no worries. Just going to show a couple other things here. So just as far as being able to serve up information to agents, because we have, as I mentioned there, full data set within here, we're able to dynamically display information for agents. So here's an example of kind of a dashboard that they would log into here. If you set goals for them, team and personal, those things can be dynamically tracked here. Mid-section here, really just a customizable widget area that you can tailor content to your user base. So if there are particular videos or statistics or things that you want to key them into, since they'll be coming in here to work on transactions, good place to put that in front of them. And then because we do have accounting and financials within the system as well, this section here should answer quite a bit of the commonly asked questions here as far as commission to date, next split level, balance, all those kind of things. So it can definitely take some strain away from accounting or other places if you get these questions repeatedly. So absolutely can serve this up on demand to agents. And it's all available and web friendly. So this is kind of the iPhone look here. So not a case where you're going to have to log into some archaic system on a remote desktop and have to download reports and things like that. You can get that all from within there. And then another great sales view here is pipeline. So they can kind of see what are their listings, pendings, closed, and running 5-month forecast there. So just another great way for them to have some self-service data on demand here, and perhaps save you from answering some questions over and over, and just a better overall workflow. And go on to this for just a moment. My apologies. All right, so this is live Brokermint transaction section here. So obviously the way that a lot of folks might have to create transactions now, where You have a drop-down field, you have to manually enter this information. The great thing about the integration with Chime is that deals are going to naturally flow here into the system. So here's kind of a sample of what this would generally look like. Can take a look at these and accept or reject. Generally, you're going to accept unless you've already created something within the system. As you can see here, there's a lot of information here that flows over as part of that integration. And you can also configure and add fields here. If there are additional things that you want to track that aren't shown, you can add those fields. And then you can also make them mandatory. So if it's a case where you want zoning to be something that's mandatory, you can make that mandatory. It's going to show up as red, and you're not going to be able to move forward unless you have all the mandatory fields entered here. So a few different parameters here to do this by. So listing and pending, and then we'll take a look here at a transaction that I already have in flight. So again, here's kind of the clean look at the cover sheet, the information that came over from through the integration, as well as contacts that came over as well. And then from in here, you'd be able to start really that transaction management process. So as you can see, I've added a listing checklist here, all the different things here. And these checklists are all customizable. So here's kind of the checklist area where you would work on this. You can assign these different tasks on the checklist to different roles. You can require the documents be attached from your library, or perhaps from other documents that are enabled within the system. And all of these dates are dynamic. So you can change these based on the dynamic date that you select there. And again, this is with that checklist overlaying that transaction. And within the same transaction here, you're also going to overlay the commissions, and I'll show that in just a moment, but just wanted to run real quick through this checklist. So here you can upload documents. Also, there is unsorted section here where you can add any kind of documents here and then assign them into the checklist. And then there's also a unique identifier here for email. So you can email documents into this section and be able to attach them to pieces of the checklist as well. So all quite customizable and able to fit over your operations here. Commission section. So you can see here, I've added an agent and their plan. So all of these plans are templated, and you can have multiple plans associated with this agent. So right now, the plan that I have applied looks like it's 100%. There's a transaction fee of $150, and then there's a sliding scale deduction here depending on the sale price of the home, and then it's capped here at $5,000. So all that very customizable depending on your brokerage and how you do things. In all of this, you can override within the transaction. So if you want to add deductions, or if you want to simply, oh, I applied the wrong plan here, apply a different plan, and those changes are going to happen dynamically here. And then within here is also where you can do agent statements. So if you wanted to generate commission statement for that particular transaction, you can absolutely do that there, as well as generate CDAs. If you need to be able to do that, you can do that from this section as well. So all of that tied to the single transaction there. As part of that, we also can push those milestones to calendars. So here's my calendar within the system. I can see all the things here that are due or overdue. I can look at my calendar. I can look at the calendar for other folks who I'm involved with their transactions as well. If you use Google Calendar, we can actually push major milestones to Google Calendar as well. And then as far as other notifications, it's a whole list of things, whether it be daily summaries or immediate communication. All of these things can be pushed from the system here based on something being done here. Also, full activity log within the system as well. So everything is auditable, who did what, when, all available here within the system. And then, once we close the transaction, it's going to update within Chime that the transaction is closed, and then you can continue work within there. Real quick here, let me touch on. So do have, as I mentioned, accounting available within the system as well, so you can build out your chart of accounts. Payment gateways, agent billing, recurring and one-off billing available within the system here. We integrate with Braintree and a couple of other third-party processors, and then all of this is going to be brought through agent ledgers as well. So a couple different ledgers here, the general ledger, transaction-specific ledger, and then agent ledger. So as you see here, you can see if they have a balance, what they owe, all that kind of good stuff. And then we can drill down into individual agent. So you can see here, Daniel had a monthly MLS fee, monthly tech fee, did a commission advance, so that when we go to pay him on a deal, we can take all this into account and make sure that we're paying them as he should be. And then just continuing here, P&L and balance sheets as part of that as well. And then just wanted to touch real quick on reporting. So easier to see here. So as you can see, this is a custom report, but we do have a number of about 25 standard reports that are available within the system. And then you can do custom reports as well. So they're a wizard, pretty easy. Again, because you have full transaction and commission data available within the same system, all of this is readily available for reporting. And again, it's a case where it's all tablet and mobile friendly. I think that's what I wanted to touch on for the moment.
Okay. If you can see, we had quite a number of questions come in during that. So if you could, let's just start knocking them out here. First, the question being, does reporting show lead source along with transaction counts, GCI, and volume?
Yes, all of that can be done for sure.
Cool, perfect. Sandy asked, how did you get the financials on the dashboard? That might.
Yep, great question. So once accounting and those things are enabled within the system, that can pull through to the dashboard. It is a customization. So we would need our support team to assist in that, but not something that's that big of a process.
Okay, fair enough. Sounds like they just need to contact Brokermint support.
Correct. So they have a dedicated support rep that they have access to their calendar. So I would say reach out to your T1 support rep and they will assist.
Okay.
Would I use this in conjunction with or to replace .loop? Great question. So primarily, folks will use us to replace .loop as part of a holistic solution. There are certainly cases where .loop is deeply embedded, or there are reasons for them to continue to use .loop. We do have an integration with .loop that can be used to really form a best-of-breed integrated solution.
Perfect. All right. How about, yes, will the transaction management sections be synced between Chime and Brokermint? Yes. Eric is going to go through that here in a moment. Chris is asking about when will the two products connect? We are live and ready to connect today. So Eric, I think, as a part of his presentation, he can show how to connect the two products. Okay, very cool. Excellent. I think that really answers the bulk of what we have here. The rest will be answered during Eric's presentation. So with that being said, Eric, do you want to get started?
Yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen here and see how many questions we can address. Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So I get the opportunity to explore and show the integration between Chime and Brokermint. We've worked hard at this, and there are some improvements to come to continue to expand on what currently is supported. So right now, I'm going to show you what is currently available, and then we're definitely going to discuss kind of some of the upcoming optimizations that we should see in the next couple of weeks, actually, to improve this even further. So the first thing I want to show you, as requested, was how to integrate Chime and Brokermint. That's done really simply by going into Chime. You go to the settings section up here across the top, and then you're going to hit integrations on the left side. And then on this integrations, this section here, we have a dedicated line for Brokermint specifically. Now, each individual user should do this. Now, before getting to this part, you'll want to reach out to Brokermint to request a couple of different, a couple of data sets that you needed to actually connect this. So what those are is the Brokermint API key, as you can see here, and we will also need what's called the account ID. That's to make sure that we transition and work with the permissions and the ownership between transactions between Brokermint and Chime. So simply reach out to your Brokermint support team, and they'll be able to provide you with both of those. So I'm going to do that now, just while we're on the call, to just show you how easy it is. Once you get those from support, you just paste them in here, and then you're going to hit the save button right here. It's going to tell you it's been connected successfully, and across here at the top now, you're going to see that it's an existing integration. We've got Brokermint labeled right here. If for whatever reason you ever needed to disconnect that from Chime, you've got the button ready for you there. So very simply, we've integrated Brokermint already directly to the Chime platform. Once again, each individual user should do that in order to make sure that they've got their account connected. And we'll kind of go over this later, but the ownership of a transaction is of course important. You're not able to send a transaction out of Chime if you do not own it in Chime. So that is an important aspect to touch on, and that we outline clearly in our help documentation as well, if you ever want to reference what those limitations are. So let's just go over and show you exactly how the integration works, what our connection points are. So I'm going to go to a lead profile page. If you're familiar with Chime, you'll know this is a contact record. This is where all of the information is stored regarding a specific person. Obviously, Chime being the lead conversion platform up to this point, you would have done marketing, you would have worked with this person, of course, to understand what they need. You can set up property alerts, smart plans, all of that directly in the Chime platform. Now, at some point, you're going to want to send this information over to the back office side, as we've already discussed on this webinar. And you can do that, and you can start the transaction in Chime and then sync it right over to the Brokermint side. So in the Chime lead profile, there's a transactions and docs tab. If we go here, I'm going to show you what it looks like to build a new transaction and sync it right over to Brokermint. I'm going to click on and actually before I do that, I want to make sure I do a refresh now that we've actually integrated, just to make sure we don't have any hiccups there. So we're gonna sync a new transaction over to Brokermint. We already touched on this briefly earlier. When you were seeing Brokermint, you can accept transactions that are sent over from Chime. There's a couple of different ways to do that. So we're gonna go here. We're gonna add a new transaction, and then we're going to give the transaction a name. This is an important part, of course. Typically, this is just going to be the address. So we'll just grab an address. It's going to provide me some suggestions. So I'll just grab one of those as a sample. And once again, you'll see there's a field for transaction owner. That needs to be you if you're sending this transaction through to Brokermint. All of this information, as much as possible, all of the common data that we can sync up with Brokermint, we have. It's outlined clearly in our Help Center documentation if you want to take a look at that, and I'll try to show that a little later. But for now, we'll just go ahead and enter in we'll choose the transaction stage, we'll choose closed. Obviously, it could be something that you're just starting out and you can send it over earlier. That's also a possibility, but we'll grab closed as an example. And as you can see, you can start this information here on the Chime side. We're just making up some numbers here. And as I continue to scroll down, we've got all these other fields. As I mentioned before, I'll point out a table where it shows what data actually syncs between Chime and Brokermint. But you've got your property address here, and you'll notice there's a checkbox down here at the bottom. This checkbox allows for you to send this to Brokermint. You can send this transaction to Brokermint as what we've called an actual transaction, or you can send it as an incoming transaction. So just a glance on the Brokermint side, if we wanted to take a look at that, just to make sure you understand what a incoming transaction is versus an actual transaction. If you are familiar with Brokermint, you have the opportunity with your incoming transactions to have sort of an inbox right here as incoming transactions that you can accept or discard if you want. So you can send it that way. Now, if you do it with that method, it's more of just sending through some numbers. It's not synchronizing the transactions back and forth. So if you want to have them synchronized moving forward, then you're going to want to use the actual transaction option. So we're going to go ahead and save it as an actual transaction. And now on the Chime lead profile, we have a transaction listed right here. And we've got the basic details that Chime supports so that you have some context if you need to right in the Chime platform. And we've got a couple of options. Of course, I'm going to click on the transaction here to show you what the transaction page actually looks like in Chime. And then one of the things you're going to notice is that there's actually a Brokermint logo right here across the top. Now, what that means is that this is synchronized to Brokermint. And if I click that logo, it's going to let me view it in Brokermint. So very easily, I can go back and forth. One of the upcoming improvements that I'll just mention now that we're working with the Brokermint team on is on the Brokermint side, having the Chime logo up here so that you can easily jump back to the Chime profile that is related. So not exactly sure where it will appear, but somewhere up here across the top, you're going to see the Chime logo. So you can easily jump back to the Chime and the associated lead in Chime. So that's one of the places that you're going to see that the connection is clearly outlined for you. Now, one of I think that some of the questions that were asked were how the synchronization works. Currently, it is a manual push and a pull. So if you update a transaction in Chime or you update a transaction in Brokermint, then you need to either push or pull that data to keep them synchronized together. However, very soon, like I mentioned, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have the ability to do that two-way sync so that as soon as a transaction is connected, it's going to be able to maintain the data back and forth, and it will always be up to date either location and that it's updated, right? So to update a transaction, it's pretty straightforward. You can go into the transaction and you've got an option to either send it to Brokermint. You'll see this is on the right side. You can send whatever you've updated on the Chime side to Brokermint and it will synchronize, or you can update from Brokermint. If you made changes at the Brokermint side, you can then pull that data from Brokermint and make sure that it is adjusting the data that you have on the Chime side. So those are the two options that are available right now. As I mentioned, ideally and very soon, we're going to have that two-way automatic sync that will work. Right now we have that connection. It just requires a push and a pull whenever you update the transaction. So that's the simplest I can explain, I guess, the integration here and how it works. You've got the transactions connected at this point, like has already been discussed. On the Brokermint side is where you take it through all of the rest of the process to make sure that transaction happens, documents, looping in the appropriate parties on the Brokermint side as needed. On the Chime side, you've got a record of what happened to that transaction and the associated link in the Brokermint side to keep it connected. So are there any questions, Randy, that we can address?
Let's see. Will there be any kind of syncing between notifications? And with that, will it allow you to tag another user in a comment in Brokermint? Do you have any comments on the notifications piece?
I don't, as far as I'm aware, there's no synchronization of notifications. No, and I'm not exactly familiar. Maybe on the Brokermint side, you might know what notifications are being referred to here. But on the Chime side, we aren't pulling any notification data from Brokermint.
I don't believe that there's any sync there.
And by the way, if there's any other questions, Randy, here, I'll just show you all in our help center, just so that we're clear. We have a table showing the information that syncs from transactions back and forth from Chime and Brokermint. So you'll see that we've got the Chime column on the left, Brokermint on the right, and then some notes on the far right side. So we are able to synchronize addresses, the transaction stages, transaction types, the price, of course. We have the ability to do the expected close date and expiration dates, MLS numbers, and then of course the account ID I mentioned before just allows us to keep the ownership clear between the two systems. So all of that information is synchronizing back and forth in addition to the actual contact information. So of course you have the ability on the actual contact in Chime. Let me show you that real fast. On the actual lead profile in the Chime side, you have the option to also synchronize the profile here. So you can very easily click on the three dots here on a lead profile, and you can send the information to Brokermint if it hasn't been synchronized, or update from Brokermint if you would like. You've got both of those options, right? And if I send to Brokermint, this is going to allow me, by default, it's going to synchronize the basic information. So that's what I was showing you on that table as first name, last name, email, zip, source, all that information. That's a required that automatically syncs, and you can choose which transactions you actually want to sync as well. What other questions are there?
So Lauren has a good question. If our Chime account is associated with our broker, but admin staff and agents have their own login for Chime, does each individual person still have to connect to Brokermint, or will it be set up for everyone with our broker's main account?
Yeah, in order for the integration to work on Chime, in order for to have these tools available to send to Brokermint and update from Brokermint, the integration has to happen at the individual user level.
Yeah, really important point there. So every user needs to go and go through the process that Eric outlined regarding adding the API key. And I think you said there was a user ID or something to that effect.
It's an account ID, yeah.
Account ID. Okay, all right. So remember, everyone needs to add their own account ID. Another question, are the tasks from Chime synced into Brokermint, or will Brokermint have its own task list still?
Yeah, at this point in time, the tasks are not synchronized between the two platforms. And Brokermint does have the checklist feature, of course, that was described to us earlier, which is quite robust and allows for you to add all those templates. So we do not synchronize the tasks back and forth in order to keep the back office somewhat separate in that aspect, but synchronize the necessary data back to Chime.
Yeah, no, I think that's important, because if you were to start synchronizing tasks and you had tasks set up slightly differently in each account, there could definitely cause some confusion or some duplication.
Yeah, I will mention that we are always looking, we're always in discussions between the Brokermint product team and the Chime product team to see if it makes sense to do that type of a connection. So it's not off the table, just not something that's currently available.
Okay, there seems to be some more confusion regarding the account ID and API key. Can you provide some clarity there regarding to each agent has their own API and different account number?
Yeah, the account ID should be unique to the actual user. The API key, I believe that's unique as well, but that one might be account specific, if I'm not mistaken. Let me show, I don't know if on the Brokermint side, if you have any context on that, but let me just show a screenshot again of of the fields we need. So, and this can be provided by the Brokermint support team. So just reach out and they can provide you your API key and your account ID that you need to connect on the Chime side. And that should be unique to each user, if I'm not mistaken, the account ID specifically.
Okay, and in order to find that information, Daniel, you just reach out to your support team, or what's the best way for Brokermint clients to find their API and account ID information?
Yeah, correct. So they can reach out either direct via email to their support specialist who's dedicated to their account, or there's also a chat feature within the product. So when they're signed in, they can also communicate via that chat.
Okay, perfect. So remember, each user needs to contact their support specialist or chat from Brokermint in order to take their individual account ID and connect it into Chime. Okay. Raphael is asking, is there any fee I need to pay for Chime? So you would need to be both a Chime and Brokermint client. Simple as that. If you need to learn a little bit more about Chime, you can reach out to us directly, chime.me. That's our website. All right, with that being said, I think that really sums up the questions here. Please, if there's any additional questions or any more clarity needed, please reach out to both Brokermint and to Chime. Again, I can't stress the importance of how this integration is going to reduce manual entry, human error, kind of redundant efforts by beginning the transaction within Chime. You're going to be able to move that directly into Brokermint and carry through your contract to close process within Brokermint, which is what they excel at, right? So that is really the purpose here, rather than having to start from scratch and go through the double entry process every time. You can simply begin it once, and it will carry on throughout both products, updating back and forth as you go. So with that being said, that's really all that I have. I think we're pretty wrapped up for the day. Kirk, any parting comments otherwise?
Nope, just want to thank everybody for coming and wish you all well.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. We appreciate y'all's time. Kept it under an hour like I promised. I should probably have this recording up onto the YouTube channel within a day or so. Y'all have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Y'all take care.